Hey, deserving listeners, it's time to continue watching 90 Day Fiancé, The Single Life. Let's watch. My name is Dr. Kirk Honda. I'm a therapist and a professor. As I always say, don't use YouTube as a replacement for therapy. If you need a therapist, get one. You deserve it. Let's watch.
You meet up with them, then you can really let it loose.
I'm really trying to comprehend all that.
Well, I don't think it's so much a comprehending, it's just the fact that he did it. Don't you think maybe we should dig a little more?
Yeah?
I don't know how active he is on social media.
Find a maybe he's on Facebook.
No, okay, so to catch you up, Debbie's talking with her friend, giving her the update about being ghosted by, and stood up, I think is a better way of describing it, on their second date. And Debbie's upset, and the friend is being supportive, which is great. Debbie's saying she doesn't really know what happened, but, you know, in all likelihood, the guy just either wasn't into her and was too afraid to contact her. Hard to know. I don't know if I show this clip, but he asked Debbie to not tell anyone that how they met. He was, I guess, ashamed of meeting someone on a dating app, which I find to be kind of a generational thing. Younger people are more used to it. Back in the day, if you met someone, and I'm old enough to remember this, that if you met someone on a dating app or online or on one of these kinds of, dating kinds of setup companies, you know, before there was the internet, you had these like VHS-based dating outfits, but it felt shameful because it felt like, well, shouldn't you be able to meet people in the real world? What's wrong with you that you can't meet people in the real world? And of course, today, I would hope that people don't have that stigma. Do people still have that stigma? I would hope that they wouldn't. So it's interesting to think back. I kind of forgot about that stigma. But anyway, so apparently he had that stigma. I don't know. But instead of saying this hurts, okay, let me reevaluate things. Maybe I need to lower my expectations a little bit. Maybe I need to cry a little bit. Who knows? Instead of that, they're now going to stalk him online. What is your goal here? To punish him or something? If so, yikes.
Oh, yeah, we did that. Okay, let's Google him.
Although I will say it is commonplace for people while they're initially dating someone to Google them, to look them up on the internet. Not everyone does this, and there are different ideas about the usefulness and the ethics around this, but it's pretty common. You know, you date someone, you go on one date, or even before you go on one date, you know their full name. It's pretty easy. Just boom, Google, see what comes up. Look at their LinkedIn, see what they have public on their Instagram or their Facebook or something. And this is why a lot of people today have all those things, you know, privately set, meaning that outside people can't see in.
Relative, public record, shows where he works, the address, says, oh, fucker's married?
Wow.
Oh my God. It says his address is registered. It's to he and his wife.
All right, so you don't know anything about that. He might be technically still married, even though they don't, you know, they're not involved with each other romantically and haven't been for a long time, so you don't know. The other thing, you don't know if the internet is correct. I mean, just Googling someone's name and having some information pop up about them, let's just imagine that maybe it's not up to date, maybe it's not nuanced. So, you know, now, is it possible that he's a cheating liar who was cheating on his wife? I guess so. It doesn't seem likely given that he went on a reality TV show, but, you know, it's not like it hasn't happened before on the show.
It says his wife's name is Deborah.
Deborah?
Deborah, Deborah.
Oh, Deborah.
What did they search people for Deborah? Oh, that's amazing.
It's a possibility.
Okay. So there's nothing wrong with being hurt. Of course, you would be hurt. You got dumped on the second date. You got stood up. But looking at the information online, we don't even know if it's accurate. But even if it was, yeah, his wife was named Deborah. This possibility that somehow he's fetishizing people that are named Debbie, somehow I doubt that. It's probably more of a coincidence and a product of, you know, there's certain names that are generational, and I'm guessing there's a pretty high percentage of people of her generation named, and in fact, there's a lot of Debbies of my generation too.
I found all this information. He's married, he's not divorced. And it's like, oh my God, everything he said to me was a lie. Everything.
Okay, so if I believe Debbie, then she has a lot of other details that she heard, that she learned information online that contradicts. All we heard was that he's married. Now, did he explicitly say he wasn't married? Maybe he did. And if he did, then that's a lie. He could have said, yeah, actually, I'm still technically married, and I still live with my wife, but our relationship is long. She's involved with other people. It's a bit of a mess, but I'm sorry is that okay with you? If he did lie about it, then, I guess that's not okay. But I don't know. I think that when you're doing online dating, there's a certain, of course, lying is not okay, but there's a certain amount of privacy that I think you're entitled to. Do you need to disclose everything? No. But should you lie about it? No. So now Debbie seems to be convinced of like hundreds of lies. So maybe we'll hear about those.
Let me see what else we can find out. So far, he's 62. He's not.
I told you he was older.
Fucking liar.
Okay, so that's a lie. If that's true, we don't know. But people on the show lie about that stuff all the time. I don't know why you would lie about being 58 when you're 62. I guess it's like, well, I'm still in my 50s, but I don't know, you're dating someone, I think she's 69, so it's not like she would care. Yeah. And this sort of lying is not okay. This happens a lot. I hear a lot of stories about people. Ed did this, saying that he was taller and younger than he was, I believe. Summit obviously lied about not being married, and catfished Jenny in the beginning. There's just a lot of lying that people do, and I'm just thinking, people are going to find out. Like, you lie about your age to suck someone in, and then what? You're just going to act like you're that age for the rest of your life?
Oh, I told you.
Another lie.
I told you.
I can't believe he's married.
Apparently so.
I am just so upset and mad and angry and pissed and everything you can possibly think of. I think he stood me up because he knows it's all going to come to a head. I think he...
Yeah, this is why you don't stalk people. And this is why you just say, well, I don't know. I'm guessing he didn't like me, or he had cold feet, or who knows what happened. But anyway, back to the drawing board. Let's start dating some other people. It happens, you get dumped on the second date. Stood up, not okay. Maybe the guy is a D-bag. I don't know. Maybe he's a total psychopath. Who knows? But I just would, if I were Debbie's friend, I'd be like, okay, we don't know. There's some details. There's some red flags. But it's kind of a moot point because he stood you up, and I guess he's not interested in you, and he's not calling you back. So, it's sad. Maybe he's a super cool guy, and we just don't know the circumstances. Anyway, let's move forward in life.
He knows that his wife is going to find out. What a rat bastard. Oh, wait, a 62-year-old married loser rat bastard. Low-life scumbag.
Now, it's normal to get angry. And you'll hear me talk about this sometimes. One, I just think it's perhaps unhelpful to believe things that aren't necessarily true. I don't know why I feel that way. I just feel that way in general. But to jump to conclusions. Now, is there any real harm in her having this angry perspective about him? Maybe not. Maybe it'll help her to get over him. I have worked with clients along these lines where they have an angry spell or angry upwelling of anger, and it kind of helps them to push forward. But there are different kinds of anger, right? There's the kind of festering anger. And then there's a kind of anger you're just like, screw that person. I'm not going to let them get me down. I'm moving forward in life. It's a more healthy kind of an anger if the anger motivates you to do something healthy. But if the anger motivates you to do something unhealthy, like, I'm guessing, given the track they're on, she's going to start going after him. She's going to start calling him or texting him. And if that happens, yikes. I mean, because you'd be jumping to so many conclusions. The other downside to having this kind of narrative that I talk about sometimes is if you go with this anger and you just start convincing yourself of like lies, essentially, that you will look back on that relationship and say, that guy was a total scumbag. one, I can't trust people because people are scumbags. A high percentage of men are scumbags. And two, I can't trust myself because I seem to choose a lot of scumbags. Those are possible conclusions, I guess, but if it's not necessarily true, that's a pretty self-damaging and trust-damaging perspective.
That bastard.
See if you can find out his address.
I have his address. It's right here.
And?
He's way up. Wow, that's the middle of nowhere. Boonies.
Not okay. You're not going to stop by his house. That's not okay. Not okay. You were stood up. It's possibly, we don't even know what the details are on that. Looks like you were stood up. Okay. He was scared. The very high chance, Occam's razor is that he wasn't really into her and was terrified about telling her that he didn't want to go on a second date. And he just turtled himself and, did whatever he needed to do to sort of avoid the whole situation. He didn't seem like an extremely confident person. He didn't seem like the sort of person, I don't know, but he didn't seem like the sort of person that would be able to say, hey, Debbie, sorry, I'm just not feeling it. Like that first guy. The first guy seemed like that kind of guy who was able to say, hey, Debbie, sorry, I'm just not feeling a spark. You had a great time. I'll see you later. That's probably what happened. And then you show up at his house. Yikes. I mean, again, let's reverse the genders. And it's not the same thing because men are more likely to perpetrate violence, but women can perpetrate abuse and violence. Imagine if a woman were to not show up to a date and then a man looks up her apartment, her address, and stops by her place and knocks on the door. Not okay.
See where the red is there?
Yeah, I can see that.
You thinking what I'm thinking? Want to take a drive?
Oh, we should, huh?
Or walk up to his door. Wife answers the door, and I'll show him my texts from him.
That would be fun.
I'll say, hi, Deborah. How are you? My name is Debbie, too. Guess what?
Yikes. I mean, this is semi-criminal. If someone did this to me, I'd be afraid. I'd be thinking, wait, so what's happening? Do you have a gun? Are you going to always do this? What else have you done? I would be legit. This is an intimidation tactic. And we've, so in this season, I think that we've seen the tender, vulnerable side of Debbie. But we cannot forget what she did before, particularly with Jess, and what Larissa accused Debbie of. But we did see with Jess a level of behavior that was highly concerning.
Your husband wants to fuck me.
It'll be a break in the day. And we got tasers, so we'll be okay.
And you're bringing weapons. We're going to go to his house. We're going to confront him. We're going to use profanity. And we're going to bring tasers. You're now talking about essentially a home invasion. Bringing weapons to someone's house to intimidate them. What if he had a gun? What if his wife has a gun? What are you doing?
I know what the hell's going on. It's terrible. What he did to me was terrible. He lied about everything, and it makes me feel used. I wasted time with him. I got,
You're hurt. Absolutely. It hurts to be dumped. It hurts. It's painful. He does not like me. He doesn't want to date me. Maybe he never did like me. I don't know. Maybe I'm not likable. I don't know. Will I ever find anyone? I don't know. Totally makes sense. Just stay in that place. But if you allow yourself to become undifferentiated, to not be able to just take care of yourself and just sit with and own your pain, then you go in a variety of self-destructive and publicly destructive ways, such as this, or the incel movement, or the malignant narcissistic gaslighting movement. There's all these different movements that people will go, brainwashed sort of echo chambers or life decisions because we cannot deal with our own pain. And I'm just going to take a guess and say that Debbie has been through a lot in her life, maybe even her childhood, that makes it more difficult for her. And I just wish she had someone, a friend. The friends fanning the flames. I wish our friend, no, you can't go to her house. You can't go to his house. It's not okay. Like, you're hurt. I get it. And, we're laughing, and you're Googling him. That's fair game. You can Google someone. But you can't go by their house. It's not okay.
Good about going out with him. And now what happened was I went out with a married man. I'd never be a secondary person, ever. I have too much respect for myself. I know what he did. I know he lied to me about everything. But I don't think I want to go to his house and do that. I don't want to do that to his wife. I'm better than that.
Okay, good. I don't know if you have to say I'm better than that. You just say, like, I'm not going to do that. You're better than what you just suggested to yourself. Like, it's like, you're like, I'm going to go stalk him. No, I'm better than that. I was like, well, you're just saying you're better than your own suggestion. So, yeah, good. Thank God. Oh, I thought they were ramping up they were going to bring the cameras. I was,
I think that's a wise decision.
Yeah. He'll get his in the end. Everything he lied about will come back and get him.
It makes you the bigger person.
Yeah.
It's not that you haven't been careful.
Yeah.
It's just been unfortunate.
I've been naive, maybe, because I'm new to this. I'm new to all this dating.
So you're hearing that. I'm naive. That implies I need to be more distrustful. I need to be more suspicious of people. And, okay, what I would say to her is, people are good and some are bad. And you might have met a bad one. We don't know. You just really don't have any information. Just take it slow. Go on a first date. If you like the person, go on offer to go on a second date. But law of averages, or statistically, they're probably not going to want to see you on a second date, or you're not going to want to see them on a second date. That's just how these kind of things work. So just don't get married to an outcome that you have no control over and is in all likelihood not going to happen. I've talked about this before, that with a lot of the clients that I've worked with, even older women in their 60s and 70s, as I will work with them as a therapist as they date. It's not the primary reason why they're in therapy, but it's sort of an ancillary reason, and then we talk about it. It's a numbers game. It's a matter of, I need to roll the dice a number of times before you get 2 6s. Like, sometimes you get 2 6s on the first roll. Sometimes you got to roll literally like 100 times before you get, just statistically, so that's what dating is like. You just got to roll the dice, and you just never know what you're going to get. And you just keep going until you find, a good compatible match.
I'm not aware of all the creeps out there and all the people that are out to get you.
So I don't know. Maybe she knows more information than we do, and I'm guessing she would have mentioned it if there were relevant information. But all we know is that they had a good time on the first date. It's likely he stood her up on the second date, but we don't even know that much. And the internet says that he's still married. That's all that we have. And her narrative is he's a total user, scammer, liar, horrible human being. What? Like, Ash was still married to his wife when Ash was dating Avery. Technically they were still married. There's other, wasn't Georgie still technically married? Or I think he actually wasn't. Anyway, that doesn't make this guy a horrible, horrible human being. Now, might he have been? Yeah, but you literally have you have very little information. I did this thing because you have the tip of the iceberg. That's actually not a good analogy. Anyway, so you hear that narrative developing, which, if it's isolated and she's able to date in the future in a fluid, differentiated, healthy way, then great. But I'm worried that she's going to become more jaded, and then if she does meet someone that could be compatible with her, she will assume things and attack or reject based on the narrative that she's developing right now.
There's been several people that I've met and really liked on the dating apps, but I have been catfished over and over again, and it's really heartbreaking and getting really discouraging. I'm not afraid to be alone, but I would much rather spend my time with someone, and I don't want to give up that hope.
She's talking about being catfished many times, which is interesting. One, that's awful. Two, maybe try a different dating app. There's a lot of different dating websites. I'm guessing there's got to be some now that are much more much less conducive to catfishing individuals. Like they confirm whether or not you're a real person or something. I don't know. But wow, I didn't know. Let me know in the comments below. Is that a thing? Does that happen a lot to people now? Is catfishing just kind of like a regular occurrence in people's lives?
But I'm really worried that I'm never going to find Mr. Right.
All right, well, if you haven't become a patron of the podcast yet, you can do so now by clicking the link below or going to patreon.com. When you become a patron of the podcast, that is the way that you can really show that you like what we're doing here, that you really want to support what we're doing here. And when you become a patron, it really does support what we're doing here. I would not be able to do any of this stuff if it weren't for the patrons. And there's always a certain amount of attrition, people dropping off, and so we always need a new batch of people every month to kind of sign up to kind of keep this train moving down the tracks. But only if you want to. And everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.